on, everybody? Today I'm doing the Reds Off-Road Radiator Relocate for the Pioneer 500. This is the one we'll be doing. It's my personal Pioneer 500. First thing I want to do is remove the hood and remove the radiator and the fan shroud assembly, so we're going to do that first. Alright guys, after you take your hood off, if you have power steering, this is going to be some additional work. I know on the Relocate is going to interfere with the module, so you will have to disassemble the module box where it mounts on the mount for the power steering and move it up. So we'll do that later. I'll probably just move it anywhere where it's out of the way, up here, wherever I can extend these wires and move them. So we'll deal with that in a little while. The next thing that you're going to want to do is remove the bolts here and here, and disconnect your hose for your radiator to your overflow tank. And let's get all this out of the way, drain your coolant, and we'll go to the next step. So I got the radiator out. Next thing I'm going to do before I go any further is go ahead and get this thing clean. It's been really dirty. I've never pulled it out of this machine to get it clean, so I would advise you to do the same. If you're doing this Relocate, it's probably because you've gotten it dirty. And let's get it clean. Should be pretty easy, actually. Only adds about 2 minutes to the step. What I basically did was this piece, this bracket, is attached right here, and it sits like this. That's how your factory power steering is going to come from any of the Super ATV, Rugged, Demon, Tusk kits. I took a Sawzall and I was able to cut through this right here enough to break that off. Once you pull that tab off and that bolt comes out, your bracket's going to come back this way. So let's put that up there next. You got your radiator pulled out and your fan and all your electric hookups. The next thing we need to do, ooh, that was too easy that time. Pull your grommets out the bottom of your frame here. Wow, too easy. All right, thought it was gonna be harder than that. All right, pull both those grommets out there. Put these in, round them. You can kind of turn it. Try to slide it in place. If you want to use like a flathead screwdriver, for the most part these things are pretty durable. All right guys, your next step, take these two pieces right here that hold that in there, pull those out, and you're going to drill them out with a 1/4 inch or 5/16 drill bit. Drill them out to make room for the bolt that's provided in the kit. So go ahead and get that done. Your nut, let's move this back so you guys can see it. It's still got a little bit of movement, and that's just how the grommet is designed, but that's okay. It's going to be really strong once we lock it in together. So let's move on to the next step. All right guys, just want to show you here before I move on. Take the big shape bracket that's going to go underneath here. You said you already got your grommets in there. Take the little bolt that comes with a kit, put a washer and a nut, tighten it down. They're both 11 millimeters, and it'll sit just like this, so we can move on to the next step and mount the other bracket. All right guys, the next step, I've already cut the power steering, but I need to open up that hole to a 1/4 inch and that hole right there to a 1/4 inch. So take a drill bit and drill all the way through. If you have a power steering kit already like I'm doing, then you have to go through you're gonna have to go through your metal plate as well for your steering bracket. So it's gonna take you just a hair bit longer on this one side, but drill all the way through there on both sides. All right guys, once you drilled your hole out, let's get the bracket installed. All right guys, so I got the bracket just hand tight. Gonna take these 11 millimeter and we're gonna tighten it down just a little bit, but I don't want to fully tighten it yet. So get it close, but I still want you to be able to move this bracket. thing we're gonna do, take our radiator assembly. Let me set this down easy here. With the bracket already installed up here with the grommet, that's tight. I got my vent line ran, you wanna make sure that's connected. Your electric fan motor is right here, you got that. Pick it up. We're gonna drop it into the grommet's there and it sits down just like that. Wow, awesome, very cool. All right guys, so you got your radiator sitting in here, but there's no holes for you to line up right here. The next step of this, even though we got our bottom one mounted, we're gonna have to drill a hole through the top of this frame mount right here. But I got a wiring harness in the way, and the only way I can really drill through here is to drop this wiring harness down. So before you do this step, I would go ahead and remove or drop this wiring harness from being connected to this bottom frame. So let's get this back out, let's move the wiring harness down, and then we'll drill through the frame once we got the harness loose from this location. All right, so what I'm doing is just using a screwdriver where this harness is, and I'm pretty much messing that up, but you can always take a zip tie and go back around it later and tighten it back up if this doesn't go back in there and stay once you've kind of broken it. But at least it's safe, and where we need to drill right here, you're not going to damage it. So now let's get this thing back in and drill through the frame again. Make sure you got this radiator fully seated in the bottom of your bracket right here, and then you can kind of pick up on this just a little bit until you get it tightened down of where you want it so that it's nice and strong and tight. I'm going to leave it right where it is right here, and we're just going to drill through the frame with the bracket attached. A bit of WD-40 or chain lubricant or something like that go a long way, not burning up your bit. Your first hole and drop your bolt in. All right guys, once you got this part, tighten up your bolts tight. Come down here and tighten up your lower bolt that's holding this radiator together, and that bolt. Get all your bolts tight on those brackets. And since I got power steering, I got to relocate this power steering module. You should be able to reconnect your radiator fan motor. All right guys, so after you get this on here, you may be able to get the hose on without cutting this overflow tube, but I was not able to get mine on the way I wanted to, so I cut just a 1/4 inch of that pipe off, and then I'll put the hose on and use a hose clamp or a zip tie or something to make sure it stays on there, but there just wasn't enough room, so that's how I chose to modify it. The next thing we're gonna do is mount our lower radiator hose. Go ahead, get it put on. Get the other side on there. That goes up to there, and then we're just going to measure how much it needs to get up to the top of there, which is right about right there. All right, so I'm going to make that mark, and then we're going to cut it. Okay. Cut your hose. Get you another hose clamp that you can get to. Okay, that's tight. All right guys, so my radiator hose right there was supposed to be able to come all the way up to here and reach, and it still feels like it's a long ways away. It's not going to reach that high. but we had some leftover black hose that we didn't use, and I went and got another 1-inch coupler from Ace Hardware and some hose clamps for 1-inch. Oops. Some hose clamps. So I'm gonna just extend it and then run it up to here. That way it fits too. I definitely recommend it. I don't know, unless mine's different, like a 19's different than an older model. My hose was definitely not long enough to fit this upper radiator hose. So let's go ahead and cut another piece and get this attached. I put in the 1-inch barb hose fitting here. I'm just going to tighten this up. That you just cut.
All right.
Grab my third and final coupler right there.
Slide this down.
All right, that's tight. So vent line, upper radiator hose, lower radiator hose, everything's mounted. All I got to do is fill it up and mount this box. I think I'm going to do it something like this and just do this one hole here and try to tighten it down on the edge. It's pretty easy to get to from here, so that shouldn't be too bad, and that's where we'll move it to. So I'll draw a mark and then we'll mount it right there. It's out of the way of the radiator if I ever need to take it back off. All right. Now that I got that drilled out, I can stick the bolt right in through there, and I got the box out the way. Let's get that mounted back up. All right. Module's out of the way. Now the rad fan, it still mounts right there. Easy to check all your connections. Rad's mounted. All I got to do now is fill it up with coolant, and we got to get the hood mounted and install the design with the mesh so that the radiator still gets airflow across it and it can breathe. So we'll do that next and get it filled up with coolant, and we'll start this thing up. Set it up here to where you find it even, and you're just going to trace all these holes out and trace the inside out. I just got this one open with mesh. I didn't want any kind of design or anything in the way of the air coming in, so just pure function, pure mesh right there. I'm going to trace all these holes and trace this outline out completely, and then I'll start it with like a drill bit or whatever and drill through the edges, and then just use the saw or something like that to cut through all the plastic. I got all my holes drilled. Took about 5 minutes. Now we're just going to cut out the center section. I'm going to drill holes at every corner point. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 holes. And then I'll just trace this out with like a saw blade and cut out the big space and lay my mesh down. All right. Making some progress, a little bit more to go. It's probably going to take me another 5-10 minutes to get this cut, but almost done. Then I can just lay the mesh over top of it or underneath it and the bracket on top and bolt it all down, and we'll be done. All right, guys, I'm getting close to finishing up. I love the way it looks, but if you get to where the mesh is in there and it's blocking the bolt where you originally marked it, then just get all the ones that you can in there and then drill out those holes with a drill bit and cut up this mesh. That'll clean it up, give you your nice hole, and then you should be able to go through no problem. So just get it as tight as you can on the ones that already go in there easy, and then do the rest with the drill bit so it doesn't deflect so much. And that's it. Now I just got to get a front bumper back on. It's naked up there. But that's your install. Put your hood back on. Everything's real easy for you to get to. Got all the bolts in. Ready to go.